thought it was a porn, so I drove out here, and apparently there's a lot of golf going on.
So it's kind of sad because you kind of feel like if you see somebody in their 40s or late 40s, you kind of want to hug them because they're probably going to die soon.
Shortly after I was born, my dad had one of his strokes, so we were both learning to walk at the same time. And we used to have little races for cookies.
Comedy is great, and there's some comedians that really know how to make you laugh and grin. But we get the good side of comedy. We get the comedians that have made it through their career and have practiced and rehearsed the lines that make us laugh. But the world of comedy is a tough one, and not everyone who enters it succeeds. Statistics show that most comedians are depressed. Some studies even note that these comedians have turned to comedy because it's their way of coping with their depression. Comedians must have a certain charisma, wit, and timing to make it to the top. And even then, it can take years of hard work and dedication to build a following. So if you couple depression with a desire to make it as a known comedian, there's a good chance of your mental health spiraling even further downwards. One comedian who knows this struggle all too well is Theo Vaughn. Growing up in Louisiana, Theo had a childhood that is otherwise considered loving and supportive. He was raised by both of his parents, and both of them were working class. His father was a pipe fitter and his mother was a school teacher. Being that his father was 70 years old when he was born, Theo's father ended up passing away when he was only 16 years old, way too early to even see what his son would end up going through to accomplish his goal of being a comedian. This death would leave Theo without the support of his father during the hardships that he would go on to face. Theo always had a way with words, and he began performing stand-up comedy at the young age of just 18. But making it as a comedian is easier said than done. You can have the funniest jokes, but if there isn't anyone there to hear them, you'll never grow. Theo spent years touring the country, performing in small clubs and bars, trying to hone his craft and build a following. It was a slow and very painful process, resulting in many times where he considered throwing in the towel and giving up. In an episode of his podcast this past weekend, he mentioned how he had a very low self-esteem because he grew up in a poor family and had an aging father, so he turned to comedy as a way to seek attention. At first, comedy helped him deal with his insecurities, but when it got too tough, he became addicted to drinking and using hardcore drugs. Despite the mental struggle and discouragement, Theo stuck with his hard-headed brain and decided to keep trying at his chance of being a comedian. Coming from a small town where the population was no more than 12,000 people, he was basically only performing to friends and neighbors. He knew that if he stayed in that town, he wasn't going to achieve the success that he was hoping for. So, at 23 years old, he moved to Los Angeles and landed a few small roles in TV shows. But it wasn't until he appeared on the reality TV show Road Rules that his career began to gain traction. Theo's time on Road Rules was brief, but it gave him the exposure he needed to take his career to the next level. He started getting requested for other TV shows and live interviews. But even with this exposure, Theo's rise to the top was far away. He only made $25,555 from his gig on Road Rules, a pay that was insufficient to live on in a city like Los Angeles. Because of his addiction and personal life turmoil, his sight on his career was never dialed in, which delayed his chances of becoming the well-known comedian that he is today. It wasn't until he got sober that he was truly able to focus on his career and begin to build a following. And build a following he did. With his unique blend of southern charm, observational humor, and self-deprecating wit, Theo quickly became one of the most captivating comedians on the scene. His podcast, This Past Weekend, has amassed a large following, and his stand-up specials have received critical acclaim. To us, the success for him came fast because we're seeing the end result, but the truth is that he had to get through multiple discouraging situations. He was rejected by numerous comedy clubs and TV networks, and he struggled to find his place in the fiercely competitive world of comedy. To make a living, he had to take on other roles in reality TV shows that were ran by MTV. He was searching for anything that would pay the bills and keep him in the game. This ultimately hurt him because now Hollywood talent agents were viewing him as a reality TV show guy and not as someone who could do stand-up comedy, which ultimately ended up resulting in multiple rejections from Hollywood talent agents throughout the next few years. Despite the financial hardships and lack of recognition needed to become a stand-up comedian, he just never gave up. He continued to work hard and hone his craft even when it seemed like success would never come. And in the end, his perseverance paid off. It took years for him to shake the image of being a reality TV star and establish his role as a comedian. It wasn't until 2006 when he competed on NBC's Last Comic Standing where things started picking up for him. That's when he started touring, coming out more in comedy-related specials, and then taking a shot at starting a podcast. Today, Theo is a beloved comedian known for his quick wit, irreverent humor, and heartfelt honesty. He has proven that with hard work, dedication, and a little bit of luck, anyone can make it in Hollywood.